good afternoon and welcome to Tuesdays with Annette. That's right, it's Home Ec with Annette time. We're going to be cooking a fabulous recipe today out of book 2 and we're making the recipe Fettuccine Carbonara. And it is such a fantastic, easy recipe, so I hope you've got the ingredients. If you haven't, that you can make it another time, that doesn't matter. But the recipe is on the website for you, so you can get it from there if you don't have book 2. But someone might win book 2 later in the show, who knows? So our winners from last Tuesday, we did the sticky pork chops. Everyone was loving the sticky pork chops out of book 4. But we only had 2 photos put in, and that's how you win the prizes each week on Tuesdays. So we have 2 fabulous ladies that won. Lisa West, well done Lisa, and Tracy Hicks, loving their sticky pork chops. They put the photo up, winners. All right, so don't forget, that's one of the keys to winning a prize on Tuesdays with Annette. So we're going to make this together. Hopefully you've cooked your pasta or your fettuccine already, because that would really help. If you haven't, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to probably eat it right now anyway, and it's for dinner tonight. So what you can do is you've got your sauce, you'll have the sauce made, and then tonight all you have to do is boil your pasta, salad, veggies on the side, good to go. But first, it's time to wash our hands. All right, so we've got to still make sure we're doing all the great things to keep healthy and fabulous. And I really want to send hugs and love to Melbourne. And it looks like we might have to do the same for Sydney right now. So, just take it easy, stay safe, do the best you can. And what we can do right now is to wash and stay out of the zones that aren't any good. Alrighty, so there we go. Now, if you've just joined me, oh yes, I've washed my hands. I hope you have too. We're going to make this recipe together. And what is it you say? Fettuccine Carbonara. Oh my gosh. I would normally call that heart attack on a plate, because basically fettuccine, the original carbonara recipe, is based on cream, cheese, what is it called, the pancetta, and they often, to thicken it, the traditional way is with egg yolks. I'm sorry, saturated fat city, not having it. So let's look, we need our equipment first. So I've got my little, what do you call this? Heater tray? Hot plate. Thank you, Diane. Oh my gosh. I've got my pan. I'm going to use my Neoflam wok for this because it's got such a good base to it, but you'll probably use your saucepan. But this way you'll be able to see what I'm doing, and I like that. I've got my rubbish bin over the side here, ready to go. This is the most important tool for today, is the whisk. Because when you're making a white sauce like I'm going to do to go with this dish, you really need to whisk, 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 whisk. So we need that. We need a spoon to stir with, can opener, because we've got the can there. Spoons, we need lots of teaspoons, measure spoons, and we've got some measure cups over here, chopping board. But remember, this recipe is on the website. Now, the ingredients we need is we need an onion. So we're going to do a small onion diced. We've got some mushrooms, and that's 3 cups sliced. Now, Billy bought me the ham. I'm not a mad fan of the ham for this recipe today that he bought, Billy. I'm sorry, reject, but it's a bit thin, but that's okay. It's lovely and lean. But for this recipe, I quite like it to be a little bit thicker than this, because it just seems to hold better in the recipe, but that's okay. 97% fat-free ham is what we aim for. We're going to have some garlic. I've got my little jar here if you've got fresh, fabulous. We've got some of the vegetable stock powder. I like the Marcel because it's lower in sodium. We need 2 sachets of the cream of mushroom cup of soup, continental, a can of evaporated light milk. We're going to use some Parmesan in there, which is the Kraft one that I like to use. We're going to put some Flora Light in there as well, skim milk. I've got a bit of pepper here for later, and plain flour. And where's my spray? I've got my special spray, the rice bran, for my Neoflam, because that doesn't affect the fabulous pan. So, are we ready to cook? I say let's get started. Now I've got my trusty sharp knives here as well, which is fantastic. So I think we'll get the onion out of the way first, because I always think that's the worst. So have you got your onion ready? I love cooking with you guys on a Tuesday, and I love seeing your photos, so make sure you post them up. So we're going to cut the ends off each side of the onion. This is a little bit bigger than, I'd say, a small onion, but you know what? We don't care in our house. We love onion, so that's fine. Now, you're going to want to dice it, so let's remove all that skin. And this is where the sharp knives are really good for onions, because it means you're not going to crush the juice out of the onions, because the knives are so sharp, and that helps avoid that stingy, burny, watery eye. But hello, if you've just joined me, it's Fettuccine Carbonara. Look, we can't go to Italy at the moment, like who would want to? Certainly not me, but we're going to make a fabulous Italian dish, Fettuccine Carbonara. It's such a great, great pasta dish. And so now what we're going to do, let's go in, and I want you to dice, just finely diced, your onion. And I'll put it back in this bowl when I'm done. So, get that onion out of the way first. It's the worst part of any cooking, I think. And I'm a bit of a lazy cook. That's why I always use the crushed garlic, because I can't be bothered. I used to buy the fresh garlic, and whenever I needed it, say for bolognese, I'd go to the pantry, and it'd be like this puff ball of nothing, because it had been in there too long. And then we didn't have garlic, so that's when I, years ago, decided, you know what, I'm going the jar. All right. So if you're going to do your garlic, you need to do it now, if you have fresh garlic. Whereas for those of you like me got the lazy option, then you have it ready to go. Okay. So onion done. Good to have it out of the way. Let's put it over there. Next, we're going to do the mushrooms. And I always like to do the veggies first, and then I can use the same chopping board, because the ham, you know, you don't want to cross-contaminate. So this is what we're going to do here. Now we want 3 cups, so I've got my cup measure here, so I can see how I go. Now, if I've just lost you right now and you've got, oh no, there's mushrooms in this dish, Annette, what are you thinking? I do not like mushrooms. Well, first of all, I'm going to say, why not? They're fabulous. But if you can't or don't like mushrooms, so while I'm chatting, I want you to be chopping up, slicing your mushrooms, remember. We want 3 cups. Now, if you don't like mushrooms, I had a thought about it, because really, the traditional, real Italian, back in the 1800s or whatever it was, they didn't put mushrooms in it. It was just cheese and cream, I think, and a bit of ham or bacon. But I like to add some veggies to mine, and a lot of carbonaras are using mushrooms. I'm not the only one that does it. So if you don't want to put mushrooms in, you could, I don't know, pick a veggie that you like. Like I was talking to Diane before and said to her, you know what I'd like to do with it if I couldn't have mushrooms, is I'd probably thinly slice zucchini and then kind of pan fry it first so it browns off a little bit in some cooking spray, and then take it out and just fold it through at the end. Diane reckoned she would do broccoli, didn't you, Diane? What would you do, Bill? What would you put in? Oh, Bill's a broccoli boy as well. Look, you know what, it doesn't matter. Pick a veggie you like. Personally, the mushrooms are the better choice. But if you can't, if you know, especially if you're allergic to mushrooms, as some people are, that's not going to work. The other thing, hello, I've got answers for you today, I know. But there's the mushroom soup. I've got a solution for you. This one. This would be what you'd put in if you're saying, okay, I'm not putting the mushrooms in, I'm going to put broccoli or my version of zucchini, and this would be the soup mix you would put in. It's the creamy garden vegetable. Alrighty, so see, you never know what alternatives you're going to get on the show, hey. So there's our mushrooms done. We don't need these because I need that bowl. And the last thing we've got to do, and then all the chopping's done, is the ham. Now I'm once again going to show you, because I'm a lazy cook, I'm going to chop them all in one go. So, dice. So you're going to go down in the strips. And as I said, if you can get it a little bit thicker than the one that Billy bought, I think it probably would be a little bit better. Now I'm going to not disturb this, I'm going to turn it to that way, and now I'm going to dice. Actually, I'll swap knives because this one's longer than that one. There we go. Perfect. But see how quick and easy that was to just chop up your ham? And then just break it up because it's clumped together. It will kind of separate once it goes in the pan anyway. And there is all our chopping done. Are you keeping up with me? So you would have chopped up your onions hopefully by now, and your mushrooms, and now your ham. If you're vegetarian, just don't put the ham in, or there is an alternate for vegetarians or vegans, and that is not bacon. I know, it's a sanitary product, not bacon. So that you could dice that in and you'll get that bacon flavour. So hello, if you've joined me, we're cooking up a storm here, fettuccine carbonara. Bit fast, let me just wash my hands, they're a bit hammy. Now, as I said in the beginning, you've done your pasta ahead if you have. If you haven't, just make the sauce up with me today, and then when you're ready for dinner, you can cook your pasta. All right, so now it's exciting. We are going to start cooking. Oh, but before I actually get into it all, let me just put my milk in. I'm going to warm it up because I'm going to make that white sauce, and I find it really helps. Sorry, Bill? Oh, I need to put in the glass one. Bill hates me putting the plastic in because it wrecks them. So I'm going to swap it over because I see the point to it. I understand, Billy. I'm going to put in the glass one. Can you put your 3/4 cup of skim milk in your microwave and warm it up for 1 minute? Just for 1 minute. It will help when we're making the white sauce. All right, so let me just rinse this out. All right, so ham's done, mushrooms done, onions done. Milk's warming up. Now, if you've just joined me, you know what? We're making the fettuccine carbonara. And I just want to point out that in one of the older editions, there was a misprint in this recipe. You know, if you've got a really old one, can you just check? Because where it says number 7, actually in the old books I don't think they had numbers on them, it says divide fettuccine into 4 serves, but it's actually 6. So up here you'll see it serves 6, okay? And so that should be 6. We have fixed it up in our reprint, but just in case you're confused, I want to make sure you're okay. All right, so it serves 6. It has 6.5 grams of fat per serve, I know, fabulous. And we're now going to start cooking. So spray your pot. I'll turn that down a little bit. And what we're going to cook first is our garlic, onion, and then we put the mushies in and the ham. Okay, so teaspoon of garlic, in you go, and the onion. All right, so let me put that over here. Now, with fettuccine carbonara, it was one of those recipes that I thought, does that mean now that I'm a healthy person I can never have it? And that's why I go in each time and think of all the recipes that you want to have, but at 1/10 of the fats. Now, as I said, 6.5 grams of fat. The traditional way would have to be 40, 50 grams of fat for sure, and just not healthy. If you have diabetes, forget about it. If you have cholesterol, forget about it. If your cholesterol's too high, and if you've got heart issues, no, we do not go there with this sort of food because it's so saturated fat. So we're just going to cook that for just a couple of minutes, just to seal off the onion and the garlic. I'll just get that milk out of the microwave so it's ready for when we get going. It's always a bit tricky making white sauce, so we'll talk about that as we go, because that's why I say you really need the whisk. Oh, that's looking great. Now let's put in the mushrooms. Laura asked, hey Laura, the pan I'm using is, I'm sorry, but I'm so in love with it. It's actually a wok, but I use it for everything pretty well that I've got to toss around. And it's from the NeoFlam range. So stay tuned on that one, Laura, because I think you'll be pleased to find out what's happening. It's simply Too Good headquarters, but it is amazing. And you have to have a lower heat. You don't want it too high because it holds the heat really well, but really non-stick, as you'll see as I'm cooking. Anyway, but you could use a saucepan. A big saucepan would be the idea, and it'll work really well for you. So now, when you think about last week, I had so much going on last week. I was so excited. We launched the 6-week mentoring program, which was fantastic. We're in week 2 right now. You know what? You could come on still. It's not too late. And I also launched last week my fabulous new breakfast shake. Hello, let me get the box. My new little baby. It's the dairy-free vanilla breakfast shake. So for those of you who have got intolerance to dairy, hello, you're welcome. But it's also like the others. It's gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free, artificial sweetener-free. But you know what? It's super delicious. And so just remember that's available now. Freshly made, a new product, which I'm very, very excited about. Okay, now are you keeping up with me? We've done the garlic, we've done the onion. Now we do the mushies. Let's throw in the ham. Now what we do with this recipe, I'm sure you've probably read it through before you started, and it's a good idea to do that so you're familiar with where we're going. But what we're going to do next is we're going to remove all of it and put it to the side, and now after that you make your white sauce. Now you can use, if you're dairy free, you can use, or lactose free, you can use lactose free milk as the whole thing. It's not as creamy when you don't have the evaporated milk, but if you have that sort of issue, then you won't care. Almond milk's another really good alternate. And I know there's a recipe, if you Google it, I know there's a recipe you can make that's vegan for Parmesan, and I think they use Brazil nuts in it. I've got a friend that's vegan and she loves it. So interesting the things you can do. All right. So this is smelling amazing. I need a smeller cam. So let's just put it all to the side. Look at this mix. Remember, this serves 6. And let me get my little scraper. It's just one of those delicious sauces that on a weight loss program or losing weight you'd think was impossible to have. But doing it my way, you're there. All right, so we've got that cooked, okay? Now I'm going to measure out a tablespoon of Flora light margarine. I took that off because I don't want it to keep getting really hot. I'm going to turn this down because I don't want to burn the margarine. So we want a tablespoon of marge. I've got a little teaspoon in there somewhere, yeah. So put your, so we've got that to the side. You're keeping up with me? Now we're going to make the sauce, and we'll put that all back in a little while at the end. So there's your Flora gone in. You want to melt that. Oh my gosh, I only need 2 tablespoons, but this is how I roll. I've got a big Tupperware containers, that's for sure. And my whisk. So we're melting the marge. And this is making your white sauce. And it's one of those ones that you'll see lumps. Don't worry, it all works out in the end, trust me. So let's get a dry tablespoon. That's why I have a couple of sets of my spoons, because when you're putting in wet and dry, there's nothing worse. You want that to be dry. See how it's all come off. If that was a wet spoon, it would have stuck. Okay, so you've got your flour in. Now you're going to mix that through with the margarine, just to seal off and take the starch a little bit out of the flour. Notice this surface, scratch proof and non-stick, crazy, hey. Now I've got my warm milk. This is when you're going to really get going with your whisk and really mix that in with that flour mix. Just keep focusing on getting it through. Don't worry, look, you'll see lumps, it doesn't matter. There it goes. Just get in there and really mix it up as best you can. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the evaporated milk. Open your can up. We're going to use the whole can. In it goes. Look, it's not hard, is it? Basically, it's chop it up, chuck in the pot, and whisk. Your family are going to go, wow, have you got Italian in your mum or dad? This is amazing. Now what we do is we're going to add in a teaspoon of the vegetable stock powder. Whisk that in. That's it. What's next? Yes, Parmesan. And I use the craft because I find it's quite a stronger flavour than the fresh. So you don't need as much, and I just like it. Once again, it's like the garlic. I don't want to be bothered grating the Parmesan. And once again, I used to do that and the Parmesan would be all dry and horrible because it's been sitting in the fridge for 2 or 3 months. Because, I mean, we don't use it a lot. And finally, in goes the 2 sachets of the soup mix. And this will give it lots of flavour and thicken it up as well. So let's open them up. Empty it in. I don't have a gluten-free answer for those with these soups. If anyone can find an answer for what you can use for gluten-free with these cuppa soups, gosh, it'd be good. We need to talk to these companies, hey, and get them to make us a gluten-free version. I know Diane would love that, wouldn't you, Diane? Yes, she's gone gluten-free and feeling much better for it, I hear. All right, so we're just mixing it all up. Look at this. Now, don't have to wait for it to boil. In goes that gorgeous ham, mushrooms, onion, garlic. Don't need this anymore. Let's go back to this. And we just got to mix that together. And it is just going to thicken up beautifully as we get closer. I have got it on a lower temp because I don't want to scorch the bottom. And sometimes that happens with the milk if you're not, when you're doing anything like that. If you have it really high, you can scorch the bottom of your pot. And I would always serve, in wintertime I serve veggies. But in summer it's a really lovely tossed salad with this. And I've done this, I remember one time we were going to Australia Zoo. We had visitors up from New South Wales in the days when people could come to Queensland. And I made this up the day before. I made a big batch of it. And all I had to do when we got home after a big day at the zoo, you know what everyone's like, tired and cranky, but hungry. And all I had to do that night was just boil up the pasta, heat up the sauce, and boom. Now, but do you know what I served with it? I do love it with it. It's a little bit extra carbs, but if you can afford it, add in my stinky bread. This is on the opposite page. I put it there because I want to encourage you to marry them together. And what it is you just get your bread, spread some floralite, some parmesan, the parmesan on the top, bit of paprika, and then you put that bread under the grill. You don't toast the bread, so one side is not actually toasted. And it's a bit like do you remember the Sizzler days? It's a bit like that. But I got the name stinky bread because that's what my girls used to call it, because of the parmesan. So if you wanted to know, that's how that was. All right, so I'm just waiting for this to, I might turn it up just a little tiny bit. Now, here's the pasta, right? Now, when you boil it up, it's 300 grams. I've measured it for you to make it easy, because you could just throw that all in now and serve it up in a big bowl, but then how do you work out what is a sixth? Especially if you're looking at counting calories and the fats on a weight loss plan, you need to be very specific. So I've measured it for you, and you need 1 cup of cooked fettuccine pasta. I mean, you could do any noodles or pasta with it if you wanted, you know, like you could do penne, things like that, but this kind of is a bit of a fettuccine thing. You can see that starting to thicken up beautifully now. I hope yours is doing well. Oh, it smells amazing. Let's put a bit of cracked pepper in, shall we? Remember, this recipe is on the website. If you're going, oh, I haven't got book 2, don't feel like you're missing out, honey. Just go to the website. You'll also see on the website, if you go to simplytoogood.com.au/shop, you'll see the new shakes in there as well. All right, now I've got my bowl ready. This sauce is looking a bit fabulous. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you what I do. I've got a bit of a mess going on here. Let me move that away. All right, I've got a little bit of parsley because I like to be pretty with it. We want a cup. So this is for my dinner tonight, say. So you measure a cup. Just try a little bit more because we want that little bit more, don't we? We want to get our full quota. Yes? Now you can sort of get your tongs and, oh, it's not going to work for me, but lift it up higher. And now with the mix, can I just show you, there it is. Zoom in on it, Billy. Let's show them the sauce, if you can't see it. Look at that. There it is, your beautiful sauce. Now I'm going to divide that and think, well, I need 1/6 of the sauce. This is how I do it when I'm, you know, want to be pedantic, but it is really lovely if you also just chuck it all in and do it that way. So let me clean up my plate before I show you. Here's a little bit of parsley from my garden, and there we go. Fettuccine Carbonara Book 2. How easy was that? Now I cannot wait to see your photos, and I cannot wait to get my fork into this and slurp it all up. I mean, who knew weight loss could be so deliciously healthy? Remember, it's 6.5 grams of guilt-free healthy fats. It's from book 2. Now, if you'd like to win book 2, all you have to do is like, share, but most importantly, 3 lucky winners will win book 2 if they put a photo in the comments, okay? That's what you do. So when you've made your fettuccine, let's get into it and see your photo. Now, that's the show for today, but of course I'm going to be back again on Thursday. We've been to Italy today, but on Thursday we're going to Thailand. I mean, it's the only way we can travel at the moment, hey guys. So I'm making for you, out of book 3, my fabulous chicken laksa. Oh my God, it's another one of those ones that is about 1/10 of the fats like this one is. So you really need to be watching on Thursday for that one. Now, next Tuesday, I'll be back with my apron doing the home ec with Annette. Now, if you like a pie, hands up, who likes a pie? Well, I've got the easiest recipe for you ever in the world to make. It's out of book 6, and it's my apple berry pie. You have to be here next Tuesday for that because I think your family will love it for you. Remember, it's all guilt-free and fabulous. Now go to the website, simplytoogood.com.au, for any more recipes and tips, and the shop where you can also see the knives, the new shakes, everything you want there. So thanks for joining me. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. And remember, Melbourne, Sydney, stay safe. Take care. Bye now.